Today, we're talking about a journalist, or rather, to a journalist who quit his job to turn an old bus into public toilets for women. Um, Diptendu Roy has actually quit journalism to launch Eloo in 2018, where they build accessible and clean public restrooms along highways. He's joining us on the show. This lovely edition of the show. Thank you so much for chatting with us. I appreciate it, and it's so great to see you, Diptendu.
Thank you, Kay. Thanks a lot for inviting me. It's an honor for me to be here. And I'm really happy to share my journey.
Awesome. And honestly speaking, I mean, it's a gutsy thing to quit your job and then do something like this. So I'm sure you saw some higher purpose and things like that. And we'll get to that story in a second. But what I really loved is when we started this, you said that this is your first ever radio interview.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope you're not too nervous.
So that connecting to my spirit in the initial thing
Oh yeah, I should give everybody context. So what happened was when I started this chat, Nitendra was like in like this weird trance state, and I was like, "Dude, are you okay?" And then figured that he just takes a couple of seconds to align himself and stuff like that. So it was nice to see that him doing that. So let's move to you a little bit. Let's move to the of course topic of Eloo. Uh, Now, this is a project that you feel deeply passionate for, which is making clean public restrooms accessible, especially to women travelers along India's highways. Where did this all start? This need to kind of do something like this. Where did it start from for you personally? Tell me more.
so so I live in this central India, the southern part of Chhattisgarh, that is we call Bastar. So for last 40 years, Bastar is in a like conflict state. Government and Maoist, they are in a counter and like insurgency. So and this part of India is amazingly beautiful, but it's as restricted as it could be. So I was traveling with my girlfriend that time, now my wife. So I wanted to take her to this part of India. So in like our mythology, we call it Dandakaranya in Ramayana. So Ramayana, Sita and Lakshman, they all stayed there for like 14 years. So these all the stories we heard. And but the situation in these areas is like the road is like controlled by government and both sides are Maoist. And my wife had to go to a public restroom and she was looking for one solution. So but we couldn't find any such restroom. We tried Google and everything, and we are looking for dhaba. But and then in the end, she had to like go to a nearby roadside, and some people they pass some comment and all. And your girlfriend, your girlfriend is with you, and some other guy is like passing a comment, and that made me like very rattled.
Mm.
So and I thought of like what is the situation, and this is not the situation I'm first time I am facing, but I have seen this problem with my mother also. She don't eat, drink, eat anything while she was planning a trip.
Yeah, yeah.
So that made me think like
By the way, that's not only
how.
your mother. I know a lot of women, even in my life, who do the same because like they don't want to use washrooms on a highway and things like that. So I completely understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, so that made me think like is there like solution to this and all. So that time I was into journalism and all. I didn't thought about it very professionally, I would say, or like how we could solve. But this problem keep on repeating with me, like kept on like I faced this in Chhattisgarh, then I faced this in Goa, then in Rishikesh to Kedarnath, and I like then I saw like it's a pattern. And I saw
Right.
like half of Indian population, like all the women, whenever they are traveling they face this problem.
Right.
And it's so subtle and yet so it's a major problem that I saw like when I googled, people are like petitioning on change.org, and they are writing about it on TripAdvisor comments and all. So then I thought it's a problem because in cities there are plenty of restaurants, restrooms, and like sulab shauchalaya. But on you only find two things. One is petrol pump, another is dhaba, and
Right.
both of them are mostly run by men, and they don't understand the importance of having a clean toilet. A
Very
clean
well.
means
That's a good point that you kind of bring up, because one thing that's extremely common, especially for women out there, is picking up urinary tract infections, right, at these public toilets. And that becomes a almost like an irritating thing for the next, till you're free of that urinary tract infection. As men, we don't realize, but it's a very common thing in women, actually. Um,
exactly.
I want to kind of focus on what you built, and that is Eloo, and kind of putting it together and things like that. One thing that I can see, at least from pictures that I've seen of you guys, is that the loos are extremely clean. Number one, but it's also like a toilet on wheels almost that goes across highways. So, talk to me about what it was like, kind of building something like this, and why did you choose to kind of have it on wheels? And tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's a nice question. Like, so why? So initially, I tried dhaba people to then talk to them and then inspired them to like mobilize them to have their clean toilet and all, but they didn't pay heed to it. And they said अगर हम लोग अच्छा साफ टॉयलेट होगा तो महंगा लगेगा लोगों को टॉयलेट एंड
Ah,
ब्ला ब्ला. तो then I thought of like what could be a scalable solution. So I was talking to one of my engineer friend, like, so he's a mechanical engineer. He was telling me, why are you trying toilet? That was what was the initial plan, like brick and mortar toilet. Why don't you use something that is already been discarded and decommissioned, maybe old bus, shipping containers, and there are
nice,
plenty of such things. So and like creating something out of this thing will be cheaper also, and you can make a like scalable model. So and that like that made me like, oh, so it's a
nice.
cool idea.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, seems really, really cool. But I mean, now that it's on wheels, you also need like a driver, and you need other investments that kind of go into, like, for the fuel and stuff like that. Um, Talk to me about some other hurdles that you faced in creating Eloo and how you overcame the same.
So the first thing I faced, that is like this government regulation and getting permission for government, because on highway the roads are like most of the land are owned by government, and, and like I didn't had any money, so I had to pitch it to private investor first, and then I went to government. So private investor, they already said no, like this is a lost project. No one is like, there is no return of investment. So I wasn't like looking at it in the terms of initially as a like startup that could like bring you fortunes and like make money. So I was
Sure.
just trying to solve the problem. So I went to government, and with government one officer, she, so the one important thing I would like to tell, that mostly the women officers, they could only connect to the problem. The men, they were like, अरे यहाँ तो है ही इतने सारे toilet, because in these parts of India it was like
I
हाँ ठीक है
understand.
चलता है attitude.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I met one lady officer, IS officer. She initially understood the problem, and they said, okay, go. By the time my project was about to like get a green signal, that officer got transferred,
Oh,
and this
man.
happened in like 2 3 years. So whenever like you are about to like get the project done, and the officer just got transferred.
Okay.
Is one problem. Another problem is that because it's a full-time thing. Like, suddenly I realized you can't like jump and like do a ping pong ball business.
Yeah,
Sometimes we are doing journalism. Sometimes you are doing a startup. So
yeah.
it has to be a one thing at a time.
Right.
When I like shifted my focus to Eloo completely, I was not dwelling. So and that made my financial like go upside down. And that time my wife came to support, and so yeah.
Right.
So
I
these
think
two things.
such times
Yeah,
it's amazing to have a wonderful woman by your side supporting you. I'm sure you give your wife a lot of credit. Am I right?
yeah.
Nice. It's good to see a good big smile on your face while you say that. Lovely. Um, Great. I want to kind of talk about maybe some inspiring stories along the way, instances that you've had that have really, made you look back and smile and say, "Listen, this is the right thing to do." Do you have any such instances for me that you want to share?
Inspiring stories like
That for people who have used Eloo and who have come to you and said some good things.
so like when my wife she saw the this thing whole project getting completed, that made her like smile, because she
Awesome.
had to go to a lot of trouble, and like my in-laws families, they were like bit skeptical about it, ki what he's doing. Like after I got married in 2020, like just before the COVID lockdown, and then I didn't had any like regular job, and so people are like skeptical. Like people came to me and they say you were just flushing your wife's money on a startup, and like so that time when she saw this thing getting complete, that was a like big inspiration, like
Right.
what you are thinking, and just getting this thing real.
Right. So I can say that she was the inspiration for you. That because she really
Ah,
believed in your dream and things like that.
and my mother also.
Wonderful, wonderful. Great. Now, what I do want to ask you is, of course, with regards to Eloo, I'm sure you've visited some incubator programs and you've gone, through that journey. So, what was that like for you personally, and what's the kind of, stories that you came back with from going through an incubator program and things like that?
So that time I was planning this thing Ilu. The name wasn't final, and like I didn't had any like concrete plan. The initial was to like set up like clean toilets in dhaba.
Right.
So that I saw a like government run this fellowship program, School for Social Entrepreneurs. They were like doing a fellowship program in Chhattisgarh, and I just applied. And then I got selected. And that thing, like, that actually made all the difference in my life. Like, I got to know how do you do a like, how do you run a business profitably? Even if it's a like toilet business, it should be like there should be have a like revenue model, and there should be have a like structure. There should be have a management thing. So that thing happened, but before this fellowship program, so I approached some other investors and my friends, entrepreneur friends. They all were like very skeptical about it. Some are saying to me कि भाई तू अपना बेटे को क्या बोलेगा कि तुम एक टट्टी खाना चलाते हो. So things were like so these were the initial lines, and like so then I when I got this School for Social Entrepreneurs fellowship program, so that was quite like changing for me, life changing for me.
Awesome.
I got all the knowledge from there, and that peer support, those who people
Super.
who thinks in the same line.
Yeah, and they believe in your idea as well.
Yes, exactly.
Wonderful. Nintendo, I can probably go on asking you like hundreds of questions, but I can see like the heart with which you bring this idea to the table. It's amazing, man. And I wish more people would be, rather than like you said, looking at the return on investment, do things for just the better of everybody else out there. And that's what you are doing. Diptend, I want to thank you for taking out the time, and I want to wish you all the very best. I really, really hope that in a large way, Eloo succeeds, because this is something that not only we need, but also this is just like a beautiful, humble, and very noble idea. And I wish you all the very best. And please give my love to your wife for supporting you unconditionally. Amazing. So good.
Thank you, Kay. Thanks a lot.